Thank you, Doug. Much appreciated. I don't think I've ever been introduced with that much kindness. So for the few minutes that I have, I want to start with a couple of very important things that I want to say to you before I kind of get into the conversation. The first one is, I don't have a PowerPoint. I hope that is okay with you. Having said that, I must admit I had a PowerPoint. And you guys are very kind. And the reason I don't have a PowerPoint is because when I came here yesterday, by the way, this is the first time I've come to a Conscious Capitalism event, and thank you for what you're doing. I mean, amazing. I feel that I have come to my tribe. I didn't know you existed. And so yesterday, when Cal was on the stage, and he's the guy who was the storyteller, and I was sitting in the corner there, and he came up, and when he talked about speak from try to reach the heart, and then the head, and then the soul. And I said, what are we all doing here? I want to just talk to you. Because I think my journey, and not like my journey, the journey of me and my team and so on, is incredible in what it has taught us. And what I want to achieve today, if at all possible in the next few minutes, is to give you that knowledge or that message so that you can do something about it. I have nothing to offer except ideas. And I will talk a little bit about our work, but that's the context. One person that I want to thank from the bottom of my heart is Raj. I met, 2 years ago, and somebody told me that there's this guy in San Francisco, you can go and meet him, and I have this yellow book. Everyone who's sane has that yellow book, which has Raj's name on it and John Mackey, and says Conscious Capitalism. I read it like everyone's read it, or has to read it, I presume. And he said, this guy. I said, I'm going to go and meet this guy. So we went to San Francisco in an 2-hour-long traffic jam, and Raj, thank you very much for understanding what we were doing and for giving me a platform where I can actually talk to everyone about what we do. So thank you so much. Let me start from the beginning. A couple of weeks ago, I was in San Antonio, and I was in a senior living conference. So as all of you know, 1 in 4 American is a caregiver for somebody. So I was in this senior living conference. It was San Antonio, fancy resort, etc. And the room was full of CEOs. And slightly unlike this atmosphere, it was less intimate, very sort of stuffy and whatever, and standing there. And I was talking to these CEOs, and I asked a question. And I will ask you the same question. So the question I asked is that all these CEOs and executives in the room, that how different is September? It was the 26th or 27th of September. How different is September for you in the way you get paid versus August? Did you get paid less or more? So everybody looked at me, kind of quizzically, some blankly, some angrily, like we all got paid the same, right? Whether it's August or September. Do you think that's true? So it took me, and I won't ask you whether you know this or not, because I'll assume you do. I'll just explain to you the math here. They did not know that September this year was a 19-day work month and August was a 23-day work month. They did not know that September, the salary of an hourly worker would be 17.5% less. And this is the month right after the back-to-school month. Because September has Labor Day and 10 weekend days, just look at your calendar. And August had 8 weekend days and no holiday, so it's a 23-day month. People haven't thought about it because nobody's kind of, analyzed these issues or have been exposed to the world of hourly workers, the whole irregular scheduled worker problem. So that was the first realization that audience had, that the people that work for them, the caregivers, are actually going to get paid less in certain months of the year. So I'll leave it at that. Because I don't have PowerPoint, I have my cues here, so forgive me. Every now and then I'll check. The second thing that I want to start with is a question from all of you. The US debt was $2.7 trillion when I arrived in America. What year was that?
84, maybe?
It is your favorite year.
1989.
Yes. While you talk about that 1989, I said, I wish I could tell him there's one more thing that happened in 1989. I landed in Stapleton Airport, Denver. So the US debt was $2.7 trillion in 1989. The US debt to income ratio was 50%. People owed $15,000 or something like that. Today, the US debt is $21 trillion, and the debt to equity ratio is 107%. Something's changed. So during this time, during this change, a lot of things happened, and let me give you some context. Today, 90 million people in the US are living paycheck to paycheck. What that means is that they do not have any savings. Atlantic magazine had this big cover issue in 2014 which called it the secret shame of the American middle class. They called it the disease without a name. Because there is no way to kind of describe financial stress and put it in a nice box with a bow on it. Because we don't even know what it means to have financial stress, what it does to people. Because it is so easy to say, and judge them. They're behaviorally challenged, those people. If they knew how to save money, if they saw me when I was young and how I saved money. We get paternalistic, we judge them. 90 million people in America, that means one in two, right? Another statistic that I think would be useful to know, 60% of the workers in the United States are hourly workers. The total workforce of the US is 146 million people. That's the agricultural seasonal workers are a few million, so it goes from 140 to 146. So the unemployment number is calculated from that. Currently, out of those 146 million people, 59% are scheduled or hourly workers. 78 million people in the US are like that, which is a very important number because they are the ones that are in the most or the worst condition. And I think capitalism has a solution which we have not yet examined properly, a beginning of a solution. And that is where I want to go now. So why do I care about all these things? And why do I care about hourly workers? I want to just put it in context because today is about me opening my heart out or sharing with you in the spirit of conscious capitalism. I retired about 8 years ago and dedicated my life to golf, books, and Starbucks conversations. And it was going swell. And the only problem is I would end up on a golf course every now and then, which means 300 days in a year. By the way, you can play golf 365 days in California. But I got busy on the remaining 60 days. When you go to a golf course, you meet rich people. And fancy people and, whatever. And they always ask you, so what do you do? And after a while, it's not cool to say I'm retired because they look at you, maybe he's diseased. Maybe he's not hireable. And then they kind of look at you. So this is what happened. And every now and then they'd ask me, so I started thinking of what should I do with my life. This is circa 2012, 11, 12, that time frame, 6 years ago. And I did what Steve Jobs taught everyone in Silicon Valley, connect the dots, go back to basics. So I connected the dots of all the things I had seen in my life. AI doesn't excite me. I'm an academic by nature, so AI and things like that are more for journalists and buzz talk. So I didn't want to go and build machine intelligence, AI, things like that. I wanted to do something that made me feel complete. I would say I had my own Viktor Frankl moment. I was looking for my own meaning, my search for meaning. And a conversation that happened in Columbus, Georgia came to mind. And so once when a private equity guy asked me, so if you did something, we'll give you the money. You know that, don't you? So, it was a good golf game. He had beaten me, and he was feeling good. So he asked me, what would you do? And I said, there's one thing I want to do. And he said, what is that? I said, I believe there is a third world in the belly of America, and it's America that doesn't know about it. And I want to solve that problem. He says, what is the problem? This is 5 years ago, right? So I said, the problem is that there is a between paycheck issue in the US, because I'm a payments guy, financial technologies, I knew about that the banks, the alternative financial industry is charging these people between paychecks an exorbitant amount. So we went into the details of it, and I did all the research, went to the Fed and the Pew Research, all the usual publications, BLS, to calculate the numbers. And I came out with an astounding realization that $160 to $170 billion were being charged as fees from the lowest income people in the United States for between paycheck needs of money. Think about it. You're all running businesses. Cash flow is everything. When the cash flow gets messed up, you don't know what to do, right? You have a challenge. So if you're an individual, now superimpose that on an individual. What is the individual's cash flow like? For whatever reason, if they're living paycheck to paycheck, they're going to run out of money on the 7th day of the pay cycle, 9th day of the pay cycle. They need $100. Where would they go for the $100? Option, go to the nearest payday lender. But that's one option. Another one is, let the bank charge me an overdraft fee. I will absorb the overdraft fee of $30, $35 and just make a payment or write a check. The third one is just not pay your bill, like your Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, etc., rent bill. And they won't throw you out the first week or the next week. They'll take a month or two, and you'll figure it out. So we defer these things. It's the mindset. So, or take a title loan. A title loan is when you give the papers of your car and you get a title to, somebody gets the title to your car and you get $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. About 35% of the cars are repossessed. It's a cool business. Lack of conscience, perhaps, but still a business. It gives them money. So this $170 billion are being charged to the lowest income people in the United States, and if you calculate it, if you start calculating it, do the engineer's thing, it turns out that an individual who's probably earning $10, $12, $13, $14, $15 an hour is paying $150 a month to service these little timing-related dings between the paycheck. Those people will come to their manager. And they will say, I want $100 or $50, and they will say, this is not the way to do this. And, or they'll give it, or they give the money. So both things will happen. But this is the state of close to 50, 60 million people in the US. And it's a big problem because they can't get any credit. All they can get are debit cards. Sometimes they don't have bank accounts. They actually use a debit card, a Visa card or a MasterCard they'll take from 7-Eleven, and that becomes their entire life. So, statement number 2, the problem of United States is there's a huge swath, huge mass of people within the US who are financially excluded from the system. They are angry, they are disenfranchised, they are, in some cases, even hopeless that what? Many of them who have a car can go drive for Uber. The other ones can, they just kind of look for jobs and they get into these troubles, they change the job, and there are many studies now, which one of the biggest one is by Mercer, the big Mercer, that close to 5% of the payroll that US companies are paying, you're hiring a lot of people and so on, close to 5% of that payroll is not producing anything for you, which is $250 billion. By the way, US is an $18 trillion economy, and 5% of that you can calculate the number. So about $200 billion is wasted. So there are two costs. The between paycheck cost that the employee is paying because they're paying $150 a month to get that money that they need to get through the next paycheck. And the employer is paying what I call as the expense without an invoice because you haven't really started analyzing it. You can analyze substitution cost, replacement cost, et cetera, recruitment cost, but you don't have a cost for an expense which doesn't have an invoice. So there are two costs that are at play here. So my entire journey then became to figure out, how do I solve this? I can't invent money. I'm not an activist who's going to stand in the street and say people should be paid more. That's not what I can do. So I started analyzing it with what I could do. As an entrepreneur, as an engineer, I said, I have to now solve an economic conundrum. Why is it that the richest country in the world has this problem? And what happened here? And especially a society which is founded on the tenet of capitalism. It turned out I did three things. I went to math. An engineer goes to math. That's our mother or our father or our grandfather. So I went to math. And I realized that what was the biggest contribution of Newton? He brought time into the equation, right? So the way I started looking at wages, and I'll give you a framework just because it's so simple. There are three variables in wages, right? Variable number one, the level of salary, how much you're paid. We can argue it, it's a political issue, it's a personal issue, it's an emotional issue, how much somebody should be paid, right? That's the level of salary, it's the level, it's the wage level. The second one is the structure of salary, how you are paid. How much you're paid in tips, or how much you're paid, how many taxes, or what's the variable component, right? Those kinds of things. Second is the structure of wages, how you're paid. There's a third thing that is there which nobody has really used. That's called timing of pay, when you are paid. That variable is in the control of every employer. Think about it. The fact that you have ADP as payroll or somebody else's payroll is an artifact of an IT system. You can choose when you pay, whenever you want. If you have cash flow, you can pay, right? If you don't have, you don't need to. So there's a third variable. So in my research, I discovered this third variable was not being used at all. And that is what we worked on. And I said, how do I solve this problem now? So we made a company. It's called PayActiv. It's out in Silicon Valley. And we built an entire platform or technology, and we went to employers, and we said to them, Mr. Employer, you have thousands of people who are lower income hourly wage workers. Can you use our system? And what we'll do is, we will get the number of hours they have worked, we'll calculate it, only because you're always paid in arrears, right? You're paid in arrears. So I'll calculate how many hours somebody has worked, I'll take half of that, so if you work 10 hours, you can take 5 hours of money. They looked at me, so they said, we don't do this, we're not into this. We're not going to get advances to our employees. Advance relative to what? That salary date is an artifact, right? It's an imagined number. But people believe it's gospel. Anyway, year one, year two passed. Every kind of answer, every kind of question, I put a big wall thing in my office called 50 Shades of No. And life went on, and luckily there was a company in Trenton, New Jersey, somebody who agreed to go ahead with us. Everybody said to me, if this is so cool, how come Walmart doesn't use you? You're the largest company in the world. And how come, so-and-so doesn't use you? And how come this, everybody has advice to give to us. Fast forward today, 2018. October 10th. Walmart went live in December 2017. Last 90 days, I think we moved $150 million in the hands of the lower income workers of Walmart. We won the biggest award for HR technology. We won the biggest award for fintech technology, for financial technology. People invite me. I am so humbled because I did not know where this will go. But what we did and my team did, and I call ourselves Larry, Curly, Molly, and me, and I'm me. And what we did is we tried to solve a problem, which was a human problem. And we did not judge people. And I don't have more time to kind of dwell into so many nuances, and I think I'm coming to an end here. At least this seems to imply I have a minute. I'm very happy to leave. I don't like to, so whenever you tell me. Did they just give me extra time? Okay. So I'm humbled by the fact that we've come this far. Across the US, there are hundreds of companies who use our service. I have one favor to ask from all of you. This is the only way capitalism can solve this problem. This is a simple solution. It is about changing the velocity of money. You don't need a 2-week loan from your employees. You actually don't. Factor it in business. This is not capitalism if you're taking a 2-week loan from your employee. Number one. Number two, make money move faster. What was the famous Will Rogers statement to Hoover? Money trickles up, don't down. Give money to a lower income person. Don't give it like dole it out, but give them their real earning, right? Anybody knows the Bible? Deuteronomy 24:15. Pay them their wages before the sun set because they might be hungry. 2,000 years ago, people had this common sense. I think part of the dilemma in the US is that we are not trying to tackle this problem in the ways of capitalism or conscious capitalism. America needs more of conscious capitalism, and that's pretty much my message to you. And we need to start from the lower income people, because only the poor can save capitalism now.